Welcome to Huddle Up. We're back with another exciting episode, I hope. We got Rob Clock with me, as always, our quarterback in the chair. And today, our very special guest is Luke Durkin. Luke, welcome to the show.
Welcome, Luke.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
First, before we get started, we're going to hype a little bit of stuff. We got the spring game coming up on April 10th and 11th. A lot going on. Ron Johnson's going to be our keynote Friday night. We're having a barbecue after the game on Saturday, and we're going to be giving out some awards Saturday morning for the Bill Cloakley Award. So there's a lot going on. We just added something this year. We're going to raffle off gear, Raider gear, to several winners. We got a lot of items to raffle off. So that's go to the website rr4l.org and you can win some stuff maybe. So hope to see you all there. Luke, will you be attending this year? I'll throw a tough question at you.
Yes, we will definitely be there.
Nice.
You bringing the wife?
Yes, of course.
Excellent, excellent,
Excellent.
great. Well, we're looking forward to having you, Luke. You come highly recommended. Tony Winter was the guy that turned me on to you. And in Tony's words, Luke was a true team player for the Raiders. And I have to say, he sent me a photograph of a picture with you, with him, and his your wife and his wife. And you're a big dude. How big are you? You are big. I mean, Tony's not huge, but you look pretty big.
Well, I put on some pounds in my playing days, unfortunately, but
It wasn't a bad big. You were tall.
appreciate that.
All right, so Luke, we'll start out what we start with most of our guests. You came out of Central Bucks West. What got you to Shippensburg? Who was involved in the recruiting process? And how do we get you hooked? How did you end up at Ship?
Totally. So it was pretty easy for me. My dad actually went to Shippensburg with Tony Winter. So
Nice.
Oh, that makes sense. Now I get it. Now I get it.
Yeah, yeah. And Tony, Tony bleeds red and blue. You can
Oh,
just
yeah.
tell. And my dad actually played soccer, and I'm pretty sure Tony got my dad to come and play kicker. So, you could tell, Tony was, high on ship and got my dad to go do that. And they've been friends, since. And so when I was in high school, I played football, since Pee Wee, and I knew I wanted to take it as far as I could. With my dad going to Ship, he loves it. He's a, big fan and stuff like that. So I had gone to games and seen games. And then when it came to actually getting recruited, I'll never forget, Archbishop Wood was having some kind of like recruiting event, for college guys that had aspirations. And I remember showing up there. It was my first time at that school, just to meet some coaches and, try to get my name out there. And the first, and I think only guy I talked to was Joe Davis. And he was just a, stellar guy. You could tell, he was a real, man's man, and did a great job, just talking to me about Ship, and really expressed, keen interest in getting me out there. And so that's what eventually got me to the visit, was him and Tony Winter, I think, definitely, because, I saw him there. And so those two guys were pivotal in getting me decided to go to Ship, as well as my dad.
Nice. Did your dad actually kick at Shippensburg?
No, I don't think so.
Because
Maybe.
Tony
I
can
don't know
make
if he
Tony
actually-
Tony can make anybody do anything. He's like he's relentless.
Yeah, exactly. He's got his picture there, so he was at least there for picture day. I know. I'm not sure too much about.
It's all that matters.
So,
You're in. You're a Red Raider for life then.
yeah. So, yeah.
Hey Luke, you sent me some great info, and you had an interesting career. You told me you had some ups and downs, and the way that things went. Why don't you talk a little bit about your career and some of the moments that meant a lot to you, and maybe even some of the challenges.
Yeah, absolutely. So 2015, I arrived there in the fall, redshirted like most guys do. There were a couple guys in my grade. Tyler Emge, he was one of them who played as soon as he got on campus. But I redshirted that year, and one of the big moments that year that stood out to me was actually when we played Westchester at home. We won that game, and I'll just never forget what Ryan Zapaticki did that day. Just how he was able to make plays, on the ground. It was such an exciting atmosphere. I'm pretty sure it was our homecoming. I could be wrong about that. But I'll never forget, we scored a touchdown and a penalty flag brought it back. And it was a bad one. It was like a 15-yard penalty or something like that. So it wiped the touchdown off the board, brought us back. And the very next play, Ryan Zapaticki hit Brady Forney on, a deep, fly route. And I just saw it unfold, the pass and the catch to score, right after that, and kind of put that game away was just one of the most exciting times, at Seth Grove. And I just remember that being just a great moment from that season. We went 8-3 that year, I think, or maybe that was 2016. But once I finally started playing, Ryan Zapaticki, those guys, Oscar Gasab, Hayden Rigo, TJ Smink, Justin Pyle, they were such good leaders. And we still had them, going into 2017. That was Ryan's, year. So to have them as leaders was just phenomenal. And wanting to play really hard for them was, big on my mind, everyone in my grade's mind. And that was definitely a great year with the wins. But, I think most guys will tell you that it's just a week by week basis thing. We ended the year 10-2, but, it didn't feel like we had accomplished anything throughout the whole thing. And going into that first Westchester game, we were so confident. We wanted to, go 5-0. Beat them at our place and stay undefeated. And that idea of just week to week, we had one objective, and it was to win games on Saturday. And it was the only thing that mattered.
Right.
And, it hurt. It hurt really bad to lose. It's like most people that have never played college football, they don't understand that every time a game is played, both of those teams are going out there with the expectation to win. No matter what, people have an idea of who's the better team or what the outcome is going to be. Both of those teams go in there fully expecting, to win. And every season we had the approach and the mindset that we were going to win every game. And, Red Raider pride, that comes from the work that we put in the offseason and how hard we were working, how Coach Mack made sure our strength and conditioning coach was on us. We had Rob Day that 2017 year, and we developed some serious Red Raider pride just from how hard we worked and the attention to detail, and the no nonsense was flying type attitude is what allowed us to win that many games truly, and really, dominate opponents was how hard we worked in the off season and, how we built as a team and our camaraderie. And that was definitely led by leadership, and it was led by everyone having that buy-in mentality. So yeah, it was great, that year, and it's great when you're winning. But it almost feels the same throughout every season, no matter what your record is at the end of the season. The wins feel like this is expected. That's great. It's fun. Like, wins are perfect, but the pain of losing was way worse than the elation of winning. And that's kind of one of the big takeaways from just playing at Ship is just how serious it was and how we approached every single week like it was a battle, and it was.
Yeah, college sports can definitely be frustrating, and that kind of leads to our next question. So your first year as a starter, you guys went 10-2.
Yeah.
Okay, then you went 6-5. Your senior year, you went 4-7.
Yeah.
Was it frustrating to not be able to, maintain that success? And do you think it's contributed to who you are now and your ability to persevere with, quite honestly, anything the world throws at you?
Yeah, absolutely. When I got to Ship, I knew that I was going to be there and I was going to stay there. So it's, sometimes people have the idea like they're going to come in and, maybe they're going to do great and they want to transfer or something like that. And, the attitude after a loss for someone like that is, different than the attitude of someone who's, there for the long haul. And thinking back on it, 2018, we lost Zap, we lost a lot of leaders. Bryce Messina was stepping up, for his first time starting. So we had a lot of new guys, on offense, but a pretty veteran defense. And so, yeah, it was tough, especially with the way 2017 ended, losing the playoff game to Westchester. You can't always explain it, other than it's just how the chips fell that day. But we were confident in our teams each year, and sometimes game day just doesn't happen the way that you want it to. But it felt like a success because I knew that it was building us as men, and I knew that everything that we were going through was preparing us, for life. And it's hard to match the heightened emotions that come with football in normal everyday life.
Yes.
But what it taught me was just attention to detail, focus, and dealing with losses. It's tough. It's a competitive league. The PSAC, every single game, it was never a walk in the park. Really. I mean, even some of the Lockhavens and the Cheneys. You got to show up. You're going to get your butt kicked.
Yeah.
It was never easy. Every win we fought for, and even the games that we lost, we fought extremely hard. And I guess that's definitely the life takeaway is just, you got to work extremely hard, do everything that you can do, but then, you got to come together as a team and really work to win the game. But it doesn't always happen that way, but the experiences are still the same.
A lot of fun. It's a real fine line sometimes too between that win and that loss.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
It only shows up as a hard win or a loss on the scoreboard,
Exactly.
but it's a lot of things that go into it. You have an interesting story. Kind of throwing a question in here that's not on our list, but I know you told me you wanted to play defensive end. You wanted to contribute, and I know a lot of guys who come in on offense and want to play defense,
Yeah.
but then you were a fullback, and then actually your senior year you go to tailback.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
So when I, first started in, 2016, that was my first year of eligibility. I was listed as the fullback. In the meeting rooms with Coach JC Morgan. That is definitely one of the big takeaways is just meeting rooms and watching us every single day on the film and just, we had a rule, what's said in the meeting room doesn't leave the meeting room. So I'm not gonna, say some of the things that were said, but we held each other accountable. And I like that. I like being with the running backs. We were a smaller group, and we were actually in the coaches' meeting rooms. We had the nice, comfy chairs, and on the wall, and we were spoiled when it came to watching film. Compared to some of the bigger groups that were in the classroom. So I like that a lot. But I liked playing fullback because I really looked at football like combat. I really just viewed the game as just fierce. I know that it's really changed to the analytical, spread pro style offense. But I came from CB West, which is a very, hard nosed, tough legacy program. They won, 4 state championships in the 90s. And so I kind of grew up in that CB West legacy to kind of revisit my past there, with just tough teams and tough, hard nosed football. And I think that's why me and Tony had some good relationships too, just because, I could tell he was the same way. But playing fullback, like I said in the email, getting, not all the snaps on offense for sure. But then once my senior year rolled around, I week 4 switched to running back and ended up having some success. And then the defense thing leading up to that, one of the big things that, we struggled with was losing guys, whether it was because of academic eligibility issues or, any kind of reason that most of the time we lost some good players to academics. We really did, especially going into my senior year. We lost key guys to that. It seemed like every year. And, that's just the way it is, the guys on the team, and then all of a sudden they're not. And it's because you realize that, they're not taking care of what they needed to take care of, outside of football. So, that kind of contributed to me saying, and other guys saying, you should play defense, you're, not being utilized as heavily on offense as much. So it would be a good switch. But, it's easy to say that, but then you realize how much you have to learn and the schemes, it's offense is tough, but there's just as much scheming going on the, the defensive side of the ball. And so it's not as easy of a switch. But and then switched to halfback, week 4 and took it from there. Managed to have some success and hopefully used everything I had learned up until that point to garner that.
Okay, Luke. So, who are some of the teammates and coaches that inspired you or influenced you during your career at Ship?
Yeah, totally. I remember watching Jake Metz, Trevor Harmon, before I got there, and watching these tough guys, do some really great things. And then when I did step on campus, Dan Wheeler, he was the fullback when I got there, the starter. He was just a character. And he seemed like such, a goofy guy, really, fun to be around, but he knew football inside and out. Like he knew the playbook so well, like at a level that I felt like I would never get to. And he really emphasized the importance of knowing what you're doing. That was key. He said you'll never set foot on the field if you don't know what you're doing, or the coaches don't trust you.
Yeah.
So that was pivotal in really learning that lesson quickly. Is you have to know what you're doing. It's not just guys running around, banging into each other. There's so much scheming going on. Everyone has to be in a specific place each play. So he was able to show me that. Like I've spoken about Zap a lot. Alan Holman on the defense, we would go head to head a lot. Tyler, there were so many guys to look up to and really try to emulate as players. But I would say Coach Morgan was definitely pivotal in developing me as a player and really analyzing my game, just trying to get better each day and really approaching it with a very serious attitude, and as well as kind of building that brotherly bond with the team. He was great. There's so many guys that I could list that really inspired me. And then once I got older, even young guys came in. Like Bryson was a phenomenal leader. Sean Judge, he mentioned him. Some of the younger guys came in with work ethics that inspired me, even as a junior and a senior, as someone who is considered a leader. I would never admit it to them, but I looked up to a lot of the younger guys, and tried to emulate them, as a leader myself. So, so much to say about who inspired me.
Were you there when Tyler MG told us a story about how he ate the worm in the locker room?
Oh, I wasn't in the circle, but I heard it. It was awesome. We knew he had something planned, but that's just who he is, man. He really is. Tyler was such a big inspiration for me, and him playing and being a starter while I was a redshirt. I mean, we're the same age and in the same class, but he was already, doing great things for the program. So he was absolutely one of them too. Chase Yoakum as well. Both those guys. I was so fortunate with the people, the guys that I met. And I really just can't say enough great things about them. But yeah, that worm thing with Tyler, that's him, all right.
I might play that video again just to see it because it was hilarious.
Exactly.
One of the crazier things I've ever seen in a locker room pregame speech.
Yeah.
Now you talked about Tony Winter earlier. He's touched so many lives at Shippensburg. He's been there. He was there forever. So and he's still heavily involved with us with RR4L. But what role did he play in you? I know not only just on the field, but academically as well.
Oh yeah, I'll tell you. I came in as an economics major, and I think we were like 2 weeks, into the semester, and I get a call from him, and he's like, "No, you got to switch to the business school." So I wasn't dead set on economics or anything. I found the topic interesting, and but he got me to come over to the business school. So that was the start for sure. And he kept up with me, made sure I was doing everything I needed to do, and was a great advisor, and someone who didn't have to do that. He volunteered his time and was really just a great person and a great mentor to a lot of us. But yeah, he's definitely the reason I got my business degree.
I think that's been a pretty common theme with a lot of the people we've interviewed.
Yes.
Tony's role in one way or another He did. He had such an effect on that campus in so many different ways, not
Mhm.
just professionally, but also just as a friend, just as a mentor. And that's
Yeah.
one cool thing about RR4L. Like now I see Tony in a totally different light and I can joke around with him, can have a beer together, and probably could have done that back then too. But he just felt, that wasn't appropriate for that time period. And he probably wouldn't have because it wasn't appropriate. But now it's just, again, another plug for RR4L. It's
Yeah.
something that opens those doors. But
I'll tell you, I mean, I played, he was a coach on our team and he was one of the most intense guys I ever played around. He was, whether coaching or playing, he was off the wall. Great guy.
And I think he took that attitude into his profession as well.
Oh yeah.
All right, so let's keep moving here with your experience. You were going to try and give the pros a shot, and then sadly, COVID shut everything down. Talk about that. What did that do, to motivate you, or sadly, to maybe bring some realization to, just because the timing was terrible?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was dead set on taking football as far as I could, no matter how my senior year ended, no matter how it ended, I was really going to give it my best shot. I wasn't getting, calls or anything like that, but I did an all-star game and I showed up to something called the National Scouting Combine out in Indianapolis. One of those pay things pay for, but I met a couple agents there. I talked to one agent, did all my stuff there. And I actually ended up getting in touch with Craig Reynolds out of Kutztown. And it was funny because we had played each other, each year, and he's, kind of the guy at Kutztown. But so my sister teaches at Abington, which is where he grew up. And she met his dad. She spoke to him about me, trying to, make it to the next level. And he called me up and said, "Go train with Craig." And so I started training with Craig Reynolds and made a great friendship with him, with his trainer, training professionally, doing some serious stuff, and ultimately getting ready to run at Temple and Rutgers pro days. So a couple guys, I think D2 guys sometimes get the invite to go there and run a 40, and if they like what they see, then they say you can stay
Mhm.
for the entire pro day. And so the agent that I had managed to get me an invite to go do that at Temple and Rutgers. And that was like the big thing on the calendar in March. So I was training every day with Craig twice a day, and I really thought, I'm going to get in the best shape of my life and go to here and just see what happens, and say, I'm a D2 guy, but I'm here standing next to these D1 guys, and hopefully I look like I belong. So that's what I was excited for. That's what I was training for, just to see, what would happen. Maybe someone would like, what they saw, but unfortunately, the Temples was Friday, Rutgers was Saturday, and it was that Monday or Tuesday that we get this email, and it was like, due to this COVID thing, none of the outside guys are allowed to come
Oh,
anymore. And we were like, oh, it's like, oh
oh
man, like
man.
that's tough. But then they said they can't ended up canceling the whole thing, unfortunately. So yeah, that was tough, but I tried not to, think about it too much. I wasn't getting a lot of calls or attention before that. A little bit, on Twitter, when I posted like my highlight film and my stats and stuff like that. But I wasn't devastated. I try not to get my hopes too high. It's a tough business trying to get there. But I
Mhm.
gave it my best shot, and I tried to move on and start my life, and not wait for the next cycle and keep training and posting about it. So unfortunately, it didn't happen. Who knows what would have happened, even if
Yeah.
I did go to those pro days or not. I maybe never would have gotten a call or ran, not a good time or something like that.
Mhm.
I was running a 4.6 though at
Wow, that's good.
235. I was in the 4.6 range. And I thought maybe a team could pick me up as a fullback or something like that, at least get on a practice squad, at least be able to say,
Yes.
I was on an NFL team for, a short while, no matter how
Yeah.
long. But
Oh, yeah.
the call never came, but that's all right. It's tough to think about sometimes, but I gave it my best shot.
Yeah. We've talked to a bunch of guys who, ship guys who
Mm.
took the shot, and it's hard to stay, man. I mean, there's some great athletes and it's hard to stick on those at the
Yeah.
NFL level, man.
Not for long. That's what the word says.
That's exactly right.
Well, now that you're done with the football efforts, you get married, and so you married Ali Prabula.
Yeah.
Prabula, a lot of Prabula history with Shippensburg. We had Tad on,
Oh yeah.
last season talking to him,
Yeah.
and I know Jim Prabula was my athletic director when I was there.
Oh my
Mine
God.
too.
Yeah.
Yep, mine
Oh yeah,
too.
you too, Rob. Yeah, yeah. So it's you guys got it in the genes. You should have some great athletes coming out as kids.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Hopefully soon, maybe.
So why are you still involved with with Ship? So like why are you so red and blue?
Oh,
Why is the blood still there?
I mean, I loved my time. I loved every second of being there. I knew that it was going to go quick, and I just tried to make the absolute most of it as from a football standpoint, from a school standpoint, and from a social standpoint, in that order. um, and I met the love of my life, Allie, and it's actually such a funny story how we met. Um, so one of the things we do as a football team is help move in, the freshmen each year. We put our jerseys on and help them move in. And I was helping out at Lac Cove, which was my old dorm. And I remember moving this girl into my old dorm room and saying, "Hey, this is my old room. This is nice." And lo and behold, I didn't know it at the time. That was Allie. I did not see her again until 3 years later in 2019, when we were in February of 2019, 3 months before we were set to graduate. She graduated a year early for her grades. She was a year below me. She ended up graduating in my grade with me. And she lived in the exact same dorm room that I lived in the year prior. And we had met that day, but then just did not cross paths again until 3 months before we were set to graduate. We met then, and it was just like sparks flew. And the timing was perfect. We both graduated. She started her career as a teacher, and then I came back in the fall of 2019 as a grad student.
Hmm.
And played my final year, and we were already together at that point. But that's how we met. It was just so crazy that she was in the same dorm room. And
Did you realize it was her when you met her
no, I
the second?
didn't. Not at the time. I mean, we didn't. I didn't really introduce myself, which was kind of on me.
Yeah.
I was just like, "Hey, this is my old dorm room. Like here's your stuff. Just drop it on the floor, and then like walk out." That was her mom and her were there, but like my mind was on football. We had meetings, so I was like, I gotta go. See ya. So I can't really say we met then because I didn't introduce myself, but that was her. And but we finally did meet and get together years later. She wasn't the social type, she didn't really go out. Not that I did, but she was very focused on her school, and so. And Ship's a big school, we had 6 to 8,000 kids. It's not some tiny place where everybody knows everybody. So
Yeah.
it was just funny that that's how it worked out.
Hmm.
So in the fall, when you're not at Shippensburg watching football games, will you be heading down to Virginia
Yes, yes.
to see your brother-in-law play?
Oh my gosh, it's been crazy watching Bo. I met Allie when he was going into his junior year, so I got to see him play his junior and senior years of high school football, and he was just a stud. I couldn't believe what I was seeing, on that football field. His highlights are just insane, and he when he went on his visit to Penn State, he brought Allie and I as his guests, and
Nice. Oh, wow.
we had sideline passes for the whiteout game against Auburn,
Wow.
like when everyone
Nice.
was wearing masks and stuff. But that was just unbelievable. So this kid is just like as just a lifelong Penn State fan, that was just unbelievable. And so seeing him, progress, go to Penn State and Mizzou, and now he's at UVA. It's just been a wild ride. It's just been a wild ride, and it's just been absolutely amazing.
It's not over. You played for Mac, and you guys had a variety of kind of years as far as the way things went. But what are your reflections on Mac now that he's retired and he's
He's
off
the
doing other
best.
things?
I love Coach Mack. I just remember him being so steady when Joe Davis left and announced that he was leaving right after he recruited me. Um, Mac is just the guy that you're talking to, and you just can feel his warmth and how good of a man he is. And I sensed that when I first stepped on campus, and then I saw it as a coach. He really said all the right things at the right moments and really told us as a team what we needed to hear right at that exact moment. It seemed like every single time he spoke to us after lifting, after practice, after anything we had, we were all on the same page. He was so acutely aware of where the team was mentally and really had that, down so well. And so every time he spoke to us, there was a lot of head nodding, a lot of understanding, and, we're on the same page here. It didn't feel like he was ever distracted. And, we really built a family, and it was the football family. It really did feel that way. So I can't say, enough good things about him, as a coach. Unfortunately, the record is more, I think, a reflection of the team and not so much the head coach.
Yeah.
We go out there, and every time we lost, it felt like we weren't just letting, ourselves down. It felt like we were letting, the coaches down. They can prepare us and they can call the right plays, but ultimately it came down to us executing. And he always emphasized strong team leadership and that the best teams were player led. And we wanted to make them feel like they didn't really have to whip us into shape,
Yeah.
So yeah, I love him and appreciate, everything he did for me when I was there.
Well, I think you're our first fullback that's been on the podcast. So you don't get a lot of fullbacks. Who's that?
You haven't had John Kuhn on here yet?
Oh, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
He was a fullback. That's right.
Yeah, I got a lot of talent.
Well, you should get a foursome together, Luke, for the golf outing.
Oh yeah, I definitely have to.
Have you guys played before? Have you played?
No, I've never played in it, so it'll be my first time. But
Oh, nice, good.
I'll have to do that for sure.
Rob's a regular. I try to be a regular.
Well, I go to it. I'm a horrible
Yeah.
golfer though. My natural lefty. I'm a lefty, and my slice is unbelievable. I truly amaze people every time. They're like, I've never seen a ball do a 90-degree curve. I'm like, happens all the
Well,
time.
so I think if we can get more football players to play in the golf outing, there won't be as many good golfers. It'll be a lot of bad golfers. Football players don't seem to transition to golf real well. All right, man. Well, thanks a lot again.
One more thing I wanted to say.
Okay. Well, I'm still recording, so that's cool.
Oh, awesome.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
You're
Yeah, I
in
got
the-
it. Yeah.
All right.
I didn't know this, but when I was watching the Huddle Up with him, he said that he played lacrosse. And I was a big lacrosse player in high school and at Shippensburg. I'll never forget, I went out for the club lacrosse team at Ship that spring of 2016 and just had a ball and brought a couple football guys out. And then that next year, 2017, like it seemed like half the club lacrosse team was filled with football guys. That's another highlight was doing that. And
Who was it? Who got you into it?
I just did it myself. I wanted to play club lacrosse, and I saw the guys practicing one time, and
Oh,
there was a club lacrosse team. I don't want to say it wasn't serious, but I just went out for it and talked to one of the players and said, "Hey, I've got stuff going on with football in the spring, but most of the time our Saturday afternoons are pretty clear." So
that's gonna be pretty tricky to pick up the stick work and everything.
no, yeah, I've been playing since like 6th grade. So
Okay,
I was pretty
okay.
good. I was a Fogo guy, so I went and just won face-offs and then ran off. I was a lot bigger than everyone, so it was easy. But I didn't know Tony played lacrosse, and so I was like, hey, maybe that's why
He did everything. He's a handball champion in Harrisburg.
Yeah.
You go down to the YMCA in Harris. If you go to the YMCA in Harrisburg, his name is on handball champion like
No way.
10 times. Oh yeah,
That's funny.
yeah, handball, not racquetball, handball.
That's different.
Yeah, he's very competitive, so
A little bit.
a little bit competitive.
For sure.
All right, man.
Love you guys.
I'm gonna head on. Thanks a lot, Rob.
Okay.
I'll see you in like 20.
Yep. Okay. See you, Luke. Good seeing
Thanks,
you.
Luke.
Bye-bye.
Take care.